Good evening, fellow NEBA members. Tonight, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing my friend Jade Quek, who's beaming in from balmy California. We first met through paper folding class we took together on Zoom, and we became fast friends. We really, really did. And, I've asked her to describe herself to me ahead of tonight's intro, and this is the kind of thing she's said. She's an unfolding paper explorer, information and conduit facilitator, an orthodox traveler, astronomy enthusiast, and grudgingly somewhat tech savvy. Now, if you know Jade, you know she's very, very humble, and believe me, she is very, very tech savvy. You may be familiar with her comprehensive digital calendar and newsletter for all things paper and book arts related. We always post a link to it in NEBA's monthly newsletters. But what you may not know about my friend Jade is that she's a highly talented paper artist and I believe a folding ace whose inventiveness invariably gives way to beautiful and original creations. This evening, she'll be telling us a bit about her calendar and how to use it. And then we will be regaled with slides of her work. So we're in for a real treat, folks. Please post your questions or comments on the chat. And as Christina said earlier, after the talk, there will be about 10 or 15 minutes period for Q&A. And now take it away, Jade.
Oh, wow. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out from what I know is your busy day. Appreciate this. Marie convinced me to do this. I'm usually not very big on talking about my work. I'm great about talking about the calendar because I love it. The whole reason why I started out with the calendar is because after I retired, I was starting to take workshops and enjoying myself, and then realized that I was missing out on a whole bunch of classes and was trying to figure out, well, how can I put all this information someplace in a central place where I can, look at it and then go, oh, hey, I'd like to take that class, or definitely take that class. And so I did do that. I set something up for myself, and then I happened to mention it to a fellow workshop attendees, and immediately there were squeals of joy, and people are like, will you share? Will you share? And I'm like, I wasn't exactly intending on doing that, but let me look into it and see if I can share that calendar. I ended up moving everything over to another calendar, and that is now the calendar that I will be talking about here in just a second. So all this started back in early 2017, and it has become what it is now. If you've seen the newsletter and the calendar, it's a very colorful assortment of all kinds of things. And my purview behind all that is that if it's paper and you're going to make a book out of it, or you're going to fold with it, it's going to be on a calendar, or something crazy about, astronomy events or something like that, because I love astronomy. So anyway, let me see if I can get to the right place. And let me make everything small so that I can see what I'm doing here. So that's what the calendar looks like for February. I like looking at the month view, but as you can see in the upper right corner, you have all kinds of different views. If you're on a smartphone, I'd suggest you use the agenda or list view. That's really, really helpful. It just kind of, let me just do a quick list view for you. It just shows up like that so that it doesn't look so cluttered on your screen. I'm not really sure what the difference between agenda and list is. I think they're similar. And then, but like I said, the month is my favorite one. And then sometimes I'll go to the day view in order to publish calendar entries. If you look
right
in
there,
the right corner, just
Rebecca Goodall.
Sorry?
Is one of our members.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, in the blue. That's one of our members.
Yeah, so right. So it looks like that is a class with main media workshops. Love them. Can't afford them, but I love them.
Very nice.
So yeah, I like what Christina was telling me earlier is she is a member of a number of guilds and has subscribed to a number of newsletters and organizations. I have hundreds of emails and blogs that I read, which I take great joy in doing because I'm learning new things constantly as I do this. So underneath the the calendar with the date for February 2023 in the upper left corner, you'll see that I have sort of like a breakout of colors. And there's really no difference between in-person 1, 2, or 3 or online 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's just a way for me to differentiate between the different workshops that I have. And let's see, let's go back to the month. So as you can see, I put in the mixer here, even though it's probably not open to everybody. I'm not sure if it was. I just thought I put it in. I literally just put it in 5 minutes before the meeting started. And
it's public. Yeah.
Yeah. So for instance, if you see more than one color in a calendar entry, that just lets you know that it's an in-person meeting. So I have yellow for meetings, pinks for festival and conferences, and things like that. Sometimes I have 3 colors. I go a little crazy, like over here, the Paperworks monthly meeting for the folks down in Tucson, Arizona. They're doing a hybrid meeting. So it's in person, it's a meeting, and it's also online. So that's how you can tell the differences by looking at the legend over here on the left side. And that will tell you what's going on. And in the event you want to look for a particular teacher or instructor or organization, I know for a fact that if you click on the search button up in the upper right corner, and you, for instance, if I type in main media, hopefully that will come up with a bunch of the main media workshops that they all present.
Fantastic.
And let's see, what else can I talk to you about this? It's just.
Does this cover internationally classes that are in other countries too?
Sometimes I find classes in Italy, Switzerland, the UK, and Australia. However, in my newsletter, I have links to a particular blog or newsletter that is more Eurocentric.
Okay.
Under the bits and bobs section in that area. So,
cool.
So right now it looks like I have stuff all the way out to May. We've got lots of Karen Hanmer classes if you're into stuff like that. And I really would love to attend this driftwood binding retreat with Rachel Hazel. It sounds amazing. But one of these days,
I'll start forwarding all of NEBA's people. We have a whole workshop listing on the website that are all the members workshops specifically. I will make a point of starting to forward those to you as well.
Actually, what I could do too is, because it's getting it's kind of overwhelming at times. What I could do is give you editor access to the calendar and
even better.
Go ahead and let you go ahead. And in fact, as we go on, I'm thinking I might want to start giving up some control of the workshop, because like I said, there's a lot that I have to go through, lots of newsletters and blogs, which like I said, I love. But I'm thinking with some of the book guilds, like with Puget Sound Book Arts, San Diego, Book Arts Guild in Seattle, Tucson, Santa Fe,
Puget Sound.
NEBA.
Yeah.
And I mean, just, and, I love Jane Carlin. She's just, adore her. Every time I'm up in the area, we have lunch or breakfast or something, and we'll exchange sea glass, which is great.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's the calendar, which is actually kind of basic. It's just a lot of stuff in it. If you have a big monitor, that's probably the best way to see everything. You just kind of settle in and, take a look and see what's going on. Have the laptop in your lap and sit back and have some tea and fun things like that. So, Christina, would you want me to perhaps run through the newsletter?
Yeah, why
Or
not? I
really,
think that would be
really?
great because there's so much in it and it shows your personality off.
Okay, let me see about the newsletter. So this is the latest and greatest, which was from January of 2022. And so the newsletter basically starts off with saying hello to everybody. And then with things I want to highlight because I really either don't have the time to talk about it in the calendar, or they just have so much stuff that it's gonna completely overrun the calendar, is where I'll put in highlights of what maybe some people would be interested in looking at. And then also, bringing in my own culture, Chinese New Year, all that good stuff. And then here's my little signature block with links to the calendar and the newsletter. So as Marie mentioned, I'm all the things that is my signature block. So right below my signature block is all the sections that you'll see as a part of this newsletter. Eventually, you'll be able to skip around to each section, but for right now, I'm eventually going to be working on it. I got a couple of other newsletter admin things I need to do. So, which is taxing my tech brain quite a bit. So we have, for instance, things to see or do happen to be in the area. I include stuff from everything from San Diego to Florida to your beautiful exhibit that you had up at Bar, and Anchorage, and sometimes Hawaii, sometimes things in Japan. I mean, it all depends. So, so right now it looks like I am going.
That's okay. I see something else
I'm
here. We have a field trip to the Boston Athenaeum that you have listed here. This show. Go back up a little bit. It's
yeah,
called this
Materialia
one right
Lumina.
here. Yeah, the Material Lumina. On
So
February the 23rd, we're going to have a field trip as a group, and anyone who wants to join us.
nice. I'm a little jealous. That sounds absolutely wonderful. So what I do with this particular section is I highlight or bold the date it ends so that you know how much time you have left to get to it.
Yeah.
So
Great stuff there. Yeah.
So
by
I'm just
the way,
looking at the clock. I'm just looking at the clock, and I want to make sure that you have enough time to talk about your slides.
But okay, but anyway, basically the sections below is just, it talks about everything I would like to talk about as far as news and book and all the paper and book art goodness there is in the world. And if you're interested in subscribing to the newsletter, it's the link is in my signature block for that newsletter. If not, I'm sure Marie or Christina will be happy to forward you a previous newsletter so that you could do that. And let's see what else.
The call for entry section is always good to see.
Call for entry section. So not only do I include calls for entries, but I also have like three websites that show you where you can go look for additional calls for entries.
Yeah, but these are some of the bigger hitting ones, like this altered book, Bound and Unbound. That's a good show. I would submit. If you have something, folks, submit March 6th. That's a good one to submit.
And then I think I just got something from Alicia Bailey about Westbound.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to submit to Westbound
amazing as well. Nice. So see, I love to hear that. I sometimes I feel like I'm working in a little bit of a vacuum just because I really don't know how much you guys are actually using this. I'm just hoping that you are able to use it. So
I have definitely
let me know that.
Yeah,
let me know that you're using it. Let me know you're enjoying it. Let me know if you have any recommendations to make it better. I'm always, keen on moving forward and making it better, seeing, who else I can reach with it. So
it's a really impressive resource, honey. It's seriously impressive. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Anyway, bits and bobs is like my favorite piece. Oh, so this part here, the newsletter for more book cuts related events that's more Eurocentric. That's the Sarah Bodeman newsletter.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And
yeah, she's great.
And I love the Bainbridge Island playlist of artist books on shelf. Oh, amazing.
Oh,
But
cool.
and then
Okay,
everything
that's a
else
good one.
in there is just interesting little things that just piqued my interest, or it was really beautiful and I just had to include it. But a lot of it is origami, folding, you know, making paper, making slipcases, etc., etc. Marie was the one that
Yeah,
turned me on
I
to that
thought
16th
that
century
was who the
book that I
Marie C
mentioned.
was.
Yeah, you know, I
Cool.
do shout outs. I say, hey, thank you, thank you. And so this one was a little
Awesome.
long. Oh gosh, yeah. So and then I have a little area about the calendar. So if you missed this meeting, there's, you know, other things about the calendar. And then there's an area for residency, teaching opportunities, internships, and then another favorite place where I get to practice writing, I guess. Don't consider myself a writer, but a really poignant memory hit me and I felt like I just had to read about it. Write about it. And then the other part that I think is also kind of important is the resource list, where I tell you where all the organizations and teaching opportunities and on-demand workshops and all my favorite paper places. And weirdly enough, an MFA program, because I get an email from someone who talks about the MFA program, all the due dates, the points of contacts, and who they are in the United States. So, okay, that is the newsletter. Again, feel free to yell at me if you want a one-on-one with me for the calendar. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second.
It's like a
More than
PhD.
happy
It's
to
like a
chat with anyone.
dissertation. Jade, it's like a dissertation.
It would
And
take a whole month to go through your newsletter,
my
really
God.
go through it in depth,
can-
and then you get the next one. So it's perfect. A perfect, you know, ad
I,
nauseum. It's wonderful. Love it.
I've been told I've ruined many a weekend because they've received my newsletter. So,
And
how do we
calling it a
send
rabbit
so-
hole is accurate.
so now this is the part where I'm just a little bit nervous, just because
You
don't
rock,
normally
honey.
talk
You
about,
rock. We love you.
I don't really talk about my work or my art. It's a very strange headspace for me to be in. But based on the oohs and ahs that I got from Marie, because I practiced with her, you know, feeling a lot more comfortable. So, yay. So let me go ahead and make sure that, give me 1 second, make sure that I have everything else closed. Okay, thank you so much. So this is me now. I was always in tech, and in between, when I wanted to decompress, I would work in paper and make handmade cards and lovely things like that. So I went from folding basic, wonderfully basic structures that my wonderful mother showed me when I was about 6 or 7. So she's the one that started me on my journey about folding. The picture on the left shows what I call mandalas. They're actually stars made from either 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, or 21 pieces of paper. However, in that first picture, if you look in the upper left corner, that's actually made from 1 piece of paper, as are the 2 pictures in the middle. And then the 2 pictures in the middle are of a tessellation. One on the top is the front, and one on the bottom is the back. So you get different views of what's going on. And picture on the right is just a couple of things I folded. Learned from a lovely young teacher from the 2 middle pieces. I learned from a lovely young teacher in South Africa. So Zoom has been amazing. I've been able to reach out to so many different teachers that I wouldn't have normally been able to have classes with. So that's wonderful for me. And just being able to reach you as well is just amazing. I tend to experiment and try to think out of the box. So the picture on the left is a basic belt Tomoko Fusei box that you put together with 4 pieces of paper. And as you can see, that's what it looks like when you fold it. Basically, I was wandering around. I wasn't wandering around. My husband was driving around on the Big Island, and I had a piece of paper with me, and I thought I would try to experiment while he was driving. And I came up with this box, the one in the middle, because I wanted to present some sort of a color change because it was, you know, plain paper. And I said, oh, let's see what I can do. And then box on the right was me going all out, not only doing a color change, but also more dimensionality to a box. So this is the crazy way in which my mind thinks. I just go a little crazy, try to figure out if I can do something. And it's not the best, not my best work because things aren't meeting like I would like them to. But I really enjoy thinking about it. And then this is just some of the stuff that I've done recently with one of our Marie's and my favorite teacher, and Jean, who's also on the call, Paula Creek. And people are constantly asking me, so what kind of paper do you use? I said, the best paper is whatever you have on hand. So the picture on the left, it is literally a brochure that I found in a bookstore that's about the walking tour of downtown Hilo. And I love Hilo. And we worked with pleats, and picture in the middle, it's a tourist map that I folded and folded when I was really, very, very tired. And then actually one of my favorite things to do is if I can get my hands on a chopstick sleeve, I will make one of these little doodles, picture on the right, and leave it for, you know, leave it for a guest or for one of the,
How big is it closed? It's pretty small if it's made from a chopstick cover, right?
It's about the size of a quarter.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just a whole bunch of, if you are familiar at all with origami, it's just it's like 4 water bomb bases fold sequentially right next to each other. And then the rest of the paper is just used to make the spine. And, you know, that sort of a thing. That's what I doodle with paper. I mean, that's another doodle that I do, but that's one, like I said, that little, I call it my little doodle book, you know, but, and then this was one of, I was inspired by a teacher who was retiring. And I tried doing a whole bunch of things for her and nothing worked out. So I actually ended up not giving her anything on her retirement party day. And I had to apologize to her for that. And then eventually I came up with this book. The picture on the left shows the spine. The top right picture shows what each page looks like when you open it. The area on the left of that page shows a screenshot. I took a Google map of places that she taught at. And the page on the right of that shows the feeling that she evoked in me every time I had a class with her. And the picture in the middle, of course, shows the book as it's opened into its full star formation. Then, oh, sorry.
No, lovely.
It's gorgeous.
And anyone can access this. It's a Google presentation, which I would be happy to share with you if you're so inclined. And then this is, there's only one person that's ever been able to talk, well, 2 people now with Marie, but the other person who's ever been able to talk me into doing anything as far as a collaborative project is concerned is Lori Moorhead from San Diego Book Arts. And she said, Jade, you need to participate in this shelter-in-place collaborative project. And so I ended up doing, so this is a miniature book. It's 3 by 3, 3 inches by 3 inches. And it's a trifold. And you open it up and it's got what I wanted to curate a little something, like a little, as if we were in a museum. And so we have the titles of the pieces in the upper right. And then in the lower left, as you open up the flaps, you get a description of what is going on, of the different structures that I made. And then in the lower right is all the little items coming out. So if you know, so the everything that held it together was 3 by 3. So everything inside it was even smaller than 3 by 3. So that was an interesting challenge. And I ended up having to make 6 of them, which was, wow. You should have seen all the models and papers I had all over. It was a storm.
So you received 5 back? Is that what happened? You had a group of 6?
I received 6 back. Yep.
Okay.
It was wonderful. And
Lori is a member in NEBA, and I've enjoyed doing some other collaborative projects as well as a few
Mhm.
other NEBA people, like we're
Yep.
doing now with the memoir zine
She
project.
talked me into the memoir one too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lori.
She's a wonderful collaborative leader.
She
I love her
is.
for these projects. She's
She
got so much
is.
energy.
She is amazing. I love her. And she's close. So she's in San Diego. I can always go visit either in San Diego or in Hawaii. Doesn't matter. I don't care. um, so as you've noticed, I tend to work a little smaller. I work, my workspace is 12 by, 18 by 18. And I was lucky enough to win a residency last year with Sitka Center for Art and Ecology located in Otis, Oregon. And the first thing they ask is, what's your medium? We need to figure out what kind of studio to give you. I'm like, I don't have a medium because I never really thought about it. And I thought, well, I just figured out as I go along, I'll bring a giant roll of craft paper and work from there. And I only worked in this tiny part of the studio by the windows because I needed some natural light. And also so I could see outside. And there was a robin that would accompany me every morning as I folded, which I thought was just the best thing in the world. But picture on the first picture going from left to right, that first picture, that is 10 feet of paper. And that little house-like thing in the second picture was what I had to collapse it down to after I pre-creased for 2 hours. I worked up a sweat pre-creasing. Never thought I'd ever be able to say that, but I worked up a sweat. Anyway, I ended up folding what's called an origami firework. And this, the third picture from the left, is what it looks like before you start locking everything into place. It's a little loosey-goosey, a little, still pretty cool structure. But that little one just below it is what I warmed up with because I wasn't sure if I could remember how to make it. And the very last picture shows you half of the structure locked into place. Then these 4 pictures of the finished structure. What surprised me was each of these things that it changed into held, whereas if like the little one I have in my hands, I had to hold it open while Bill took the picture. And of course, my favorite shot is of the big origami firework with the little firework right on top of it. I ended up making 2 of these, and then something else that I call a Masu snowflake. And I left 1 origami firework and 1 small Masu snowflake with the library at Sitka, the Sitka Center. And someone contacted me and said, hey, would you like to fold some that structure that you made for a fundraiser? And I did. So I ended up folding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And when you open them up, they ranged in size from 6 inches to a foot. And so they were kept open with magnets. I ended up using my stash of magnets and I had to get some more, but I really, really enjoyed making it. As you can see, I work with everything from gift wrap paper to origami paper. The really big one that's here, that's butcher paper, believe it or not. The one with the ginkgo leaves is gift wrap paper. So anything goes. I mean, I will fold with anything. I started out making handmade cards. In getting back into paper, I kind of left origami behind and then started into handmade cards. And this is a card from my beloved Bill. And it's one of the first ones that I actually kind of liked. And picture on the left is the card closed. And this is a typical A4 card, believe it or not. It looks big because I have a tiny, tiny foot by 1 foot by 1 foot photographic studio, which I love. And so it makes everything look giant. Picture in the middle shows it opened up. And the picture on the right shows it with the book that I have in it opened and all the sentiments and what I wanted to say to him and how I was feeling about him. This was a while ago. I can't remember. 2004. Wow, that's old. And here are some other cards. I call them cards, but I realized that as I was making these cards, they were starting to look a little bookish. And I adore angles. I love 90 degrees. I love 45 degrees. But then if you ask me to do 60 degrees, it just throws me for a loop. But basically another Bill birthday card on the left, one of Bill's granddaughter's birthday cards. She was turning 21 in the middle. And then on the right is an anniversary card that I had to make. I didn't have to make it, but I wasn't at home when I made it. We were traveling, and I had to borrow the bed and breakfast dining room to make this card. And but I really, really loved it because I thought I just love the fall colors, and I was there making it in the fall because that's when the anniversary was. So that was kind of, it was very neat for me. Then here is a card that I made for someone's wedding day. I had no clue that it was a dos-a-dos. Not a dos-a-dos, but a French door structure, not sure. But I made it from momogami, and then I painted on mica pearl paint, I think is what it was. But basically, when you open it up, there's a book that opens up. So there's English on the front, but then when you open up the page for each side, there's a translation of it in Indonesian, as my friend's wife was from Indonesia, as was he. But her English at the time when they first got married wasn't that great. So I thought I wanted to just, help out. But I don't know if you can see, but in the top right corner, there's a little bottle in the book that has all these amazing little semi-precious gemstones, and each gemstones showed, each gemstone was a representation of what I wanted for them. So things like moonstone for love, aquamarine for spirituality, creativity, inspiration, protection, etc., etc.
That treatment of that paper with the mica paint is really luscious looking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just gold momogami, and all I did was I just went kind of a little wild with the paint, and then I don't know why I got the idea to stand it up and make it so fin-like. It's almost like a radiator.
I think it's really, this really feels luscious, like you want to touch it. Yeah, beautiful.
I know. Luckily, I know where it still is. I mean, I know where they still live, so I could find it and take more pictures if I had to. I hope they kept it.
Of course they kept it. It's funny.
And so the other thing that sometimes happens too is you walk through a hardware store. In the upper right corner, you'll see this little flag book that I have. Those are, the pages are paint chips that I've cut down and did pennant edges to it.
Just think it's a brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. Paint chips to use to make a book. That's great.
This is a flag book, yeah.
Yeah, but I ended up discarding that because I was going to make that for the teacher who was retiring. I ended up not doing it because it turned out to be something lacking about it, but I still have it, but there's just something not, I'll have to work on it, go back and look at it one of these days. But in the lower left, you see that the wood looking thing in the middle of that card? That is a sample blind from Home Depot. So ladies, more sources for your crafting, for your book making and paper making needs, Home Depot. And then in the lower right, that's cork paper. The happy birthday card. So, and then the other thing too is what I wanted to share with you is some of the tools that I use. I make a square jig to help me square out my sides, and also for folding with Legos. So in the upper right, in the upper left corner is my Lego jig that I can undo everything except the top bottom rows, because that's all glued down with E6000 to this to some kind of mat board, I think. And then those are steel blocks that can help put it in place to just hold everything up. And I don't think you guys have a Daiso in your area, but there's a Dollar Japanese store in my area where I got these little suitcases that I can carry just about everything I need in it. I can carry a scoring, uh, a scoreboard. I can carry my tape, my glue, my papers, my rulers. Everything fits in there. Which it was amazing to me because it's about 2 inches thick, and at the time when I bought it, it was $1.50. I was like, what the heck? So, yeah, that is. I think that's it. Yep,
Wow.
that was me. Just a quick rundown. Thank you for staying for so long, guys. Appreciate it. Hope you liked it. Marie is doing her darndest to convince me that I'm an artist. I'm still kind of, like I said, working my way into it.
Well, you were super shiny in the memoir writing workshop with your kind of esoteric word choice on your little zine that do you remember what it was? Do you remember do you have it nearby?
Hang on. Yes.
So this is one of Lori Moorhead's collaborative projects. There's 51 people from across the United States. Nancer Ballard and Liz Bailey-Nanya are the other NEBA members that are in it. I don't believe anybody else signed up, but I think those are the other NEBA people. And it has writing components with Jane Sprague, who is not only a great book artist, but she teaches a lot of interesting writing classes for different age groups. And it's about kind of trying to decide on the memoir. So we've only had, it's got that 8-panel zine structure like we do for our zine swap as well. The double center cut accordion. It's also called an ox plow, and some people call it the hot dog or the hamburger. So it's that zine structure where you're cutting down the center of the page with the 8 panels. And we broke out into little groups, so there was a chance for us to talk in smaller groups, but we had the writing portion together, and I thought you were great.
We wrote, and she had this great exercise where she called it a notebook flyover, because you said go through and just highlight or circle all the words that you think are interesting, and I came up with these weird expectations emerge, restricted strength, screaming wormhole mystery. So I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote like for like a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. She had some like prompts of things, and I think some people weren't centered on an idea for what their memoir was going to be about yet, and it was more free form. And I hope that they were able to narrow the beam. But I think Jade as well, we came in with a little more directed idea of what we had in mind, I think. And so when it came time to do that word search kind of project, my story is about a pet skunk that I had. And so her prompts really were interesting, and I think that they'd be great in no matter what kind of project you're working on. Some of those prompts would have really been effective even for other projects. So I thought she was an excellent teacher.
It was great.
It was fun.
It was wonderful. But highlight yourself, Christina. You were talking.
Oh, that's okay. No, I'm usually, everybody started looking at me. I'm always on.
You know, it occurs to me as I'm looking at Jade's work and the work of so many of us, that one of the things that I find so compelling about the book arts, which is probably why I switched from just painting and drawing and went into the direction of the book arts, is because we can integrate text with image, and we can do it so seamlessly. And it's got, you know, the book arts is such a huge field. We can do so many different kinds of formats. So I love that idea that, you know, you're both taking this workshop and that you're getting these prompts, and that in turn is, you know, inspiring what you're going to be doing. I have a couple of questions. I wanted to ask you, just as a non-folder, what are some of the folds that you find have been the most versatile?
Oh gosh, that's really good question. One of my favorite folds is actually what's called the water bomb base. When I made that little book out of the chopstick folder, those are all water bomb bases, and I find that coming up over and over again in tessellations and the origami fireworks. If, believe it or not, if you flip it over before you start locking everything down, it's all water bomb bases. But once you get, as far as folding is concerned, just play with the paper. I honestly don't really tell the paper what to do. It tells me what to do most of the time. I'm not the best folder in the world, which is why I need the Lego jig. And I even have a little straight edge of Lego here so that I can just push my paper up against it on my workspace and make a straighter fold. Especially, I cannot fold to save my life, especially if it's really long. So thank you, Marie, for thinking I'm a really good folder, but I'm not. It just seems like it because I know how to fudge things. And that comes with just having folded for a long, long time. But again, any fold is there's all the different bases to work with. And one of the first two bases that you learn is what's called a preliminary base, or the square base, where you start making your cranes and your birds. And then the water bomb, and it's called the water bomb base because you can actually end up making a ball that you can put water into and splashing someone with it. So, but it all starts from there. All these, and there's a kite base, there's a fish base, there's a windmill base. There's all these amazing bases that you can work with.
And these are all coming out of the origami tradition?
You bet. You bet. If you do a look up in Pinterest or Google and say, talk to me about origami bases, you will. In fact, I think in one of my older newsletters, I think I had a video, a link to a video in YouTube talking about all the many bases. So like I said, there's a lot of information in that newsletter. So I get it if you skipped it or missed it, or, no worries. It's the whole idea is for you to be able to come back and look at it when you have a little bit more of a moment.
What about
questions?
Let me let somebody else ask questions.
Unmute yourself if you have a question, please.
In the meantime, I can ask you another question, Jade, and that is,
okay,
what from your perspective, all the different folding techniques that you've learned, which one would you say, or which ones would you say are really difficult to master?
Oh, tessellations.
Tessellations.
Hang on, let me see if I can get an example for you. They scared me to death because it just seemed so complicated. I'm a visual person. I need someone to show it to me. Oh, hey, my flag book.
Oh, there it is.
Oh. So tessellations just scare the heck out of me because there's a lot of what's called collapsing, and you have to fold it. And then I was always afraid to unfold something. And with tessellation, sometimes you have to unfold it to refold it. And I just was really pleased. And of course, I picked the most difficult paper in the world to work with. I think this is either parchment paper or vellum. That's a tessellation I worked on. And it's called 5x4 Squares by Eric Yerda.
Can you tip the angle a little bit so that we can see? There you go, right there.
How's that?
That's better. Yeah.
And this was from a biggest piece of paper that I could find, and it's about, hang on, it's now 5x5 from like 20x20 or even more. So tessellations, like I said, sorry, my WhatsApp, my classmates must be awake in Malaysia now, high school classmates. But it's a process, it's a journey, just like anything else. For the longest time, I didn't think that you could unfold anything and get it back successfully. And then I learned that paper is actually your friend. It remembers things. So if you unfold something, odds are it'll probably snap back into position, and you won't have any problem with it. That retirement book that I made for that teacher, one of the pages unfolded itself, and she freaked out. I said, don't worry about it, just bring it in, I'll refold it. But she touched a certain point and it snapped back into place.
Yeah.
So
we saw that same idea when we did the puzzle purses. When you first go to fold it and collapse it in on itself, it's really fights a little bit with you, but then after it's opened and closed a few times, it's really remembers how it kind of remembers itself.
That
on
is
how to do
exactly
it.
it. And
Yeah.
I say not to worry about paper. I say just try folding everything with everything. Like I said, I've done parchment paper, wax paper, vellum, tracing paper, butcher paper, sandwich paper, paper I find, you know, what our teacher calls scavenge paper, the tourist brochures, the tourist maps, bank brochures, because they have this beautiful waxy uh, feel to them. You know, I have this knack of being able to find the one paper store that's in the smallest town in the world. I always manage to find it. I don't know how I do it. Bill goes, "Don't look over there. Don't. We're not going." I said, "Yes, we are." And so I always manage to find a paper store, and I will go in there and I will touch everything, which you know probably shouldn't now, but I just have to touch it, and then I sneakily try to see if I can put in a fold. You know, it's just see how well it holds a fold, and
Sounds like an addiction.
it is. I mean, oh my God, I trying to give away most of my paper. So if anybody wants paper, let me know. I will share. Huh, Marie?
Yes, oh my gosh, yeah, she sent me the most amazing, she sent me one of those little suitcases with everything that a paper lover would ever want. All these different kinds of, oh my God, fabrics and paper. And I mean, tape, and you just can't imagine. And it totally blew me away. In a class that we took together, she had talked about how, how she organized herself whenever she traveled because she took her supplies. And so I said, "Can you send us a picture?" And the picture she sent was the one that she showed a few minutes ago, and everything really fits perfectly in that little suitcase. It really is. So yeah. So I wonder if anybody else has any questions. Okay, Lisa.
Hi, Jade. This is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I love hearing about
Uh,
the challenge of the folding. And so I was just curious. I'm always curious about people's former careers. So you said you were in tech. I used to be a librarian and worked a lot with data. And so I'm curious about how that tech part of your life, I can kind of see it sneaking into your artwork. And as much as we say, "Oh, I've left that behind, I retired," I find the same thing. I find a lot of stuff I did in libraries, like even your calendar. I was fascinated by all the data. It was so cool.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, just any thoughts on that?
It's really interesting that people may or may not realize it, but origami is actually math. It's all math, and math is logic. And I found that I very easily, it seemed like I didn't think I liked math, like a lot of people, but I loved origami, not realizing that it was math. And I love music. I love anything with a good rhythm, not realizing it was math. And so I got into computers, and but like I said, it kind of it felt to me like it got in the way just because I was busy with work and life and all that good stuff. But I'm grateful for it now because it allows me to do the calendar and the newsletter. So I'm tech savvy enough that I can handle most issues that I have, but every once in a while I still have to reach out. But um, it's all math, you know. I didn't, like I said, until the classes with Paula, where she gently pushes math on you in the nicest possible way. Uh, and now that I know it's math, I'm like, oh boy, yeah, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. But it's all related. It's all logic and math and science and
But also, Jade, what you're not saying is that also it's that mentality of librarians also of categorizing things, and that systematic way of doing a project. And I think that that's all related to the same thinking that you use in your artwork.
well, thank you, because I didn't even think of it that way. Thank you. That's it. Wasn't even thinking about it that way. So, wow. Thank you, Marie. I take it, I guess I take it for granted. I don't really, like I said, it's just what I do, and I have fun doing it. So, any other questions?
Well, we're very thankful that you do what you do, and thrilled to have you with us in our group, and can't wait to get you a portfolio listing up with some of that beautiful work. You've
Oof.
definitely got some cool stuff there.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Super.
Like I said, it's just a little weird for me.
I want to thank you for sharing these because I, as a non-math skilled person, since I was little, wanted to do origami, and I would get those kits that had packages of paper and the little manuals, and I'd get to like stage 2 and couldn't get beyond it. And this is just a really neat revelation. They're just beautiful um and really warm and just great to see what you're doing with them, and they're definitely artistic. They're
Oh,
really
thank you, is it Carolyn or Caroline?
Carolyn, yeah.
Thank you, Carolyn. I mean, to share a quick story with you, when I was doing origami, after my mother taught me the basic folds, we went and got books, and I would start folding from the books, but got frustrated like you did. And so I stopped after a while. I stopped because I was so frustrated. And it wasn't until I met Hetty in 2015, Hetty Kyle, that she
Opened it. She
that
opened
love
that
for art.
box.
Yeah, that love for origami came out again. And then I found YouTube and I'm like, that's what I needed. I'm a visual person. I didn't know it. So once I started doing stuff on YouTube, being able to pause it and folding, it got so much better. So much better.
Yeah.
I just needed someone to show me how it could be done.
Yeah. No, thank you. This is great.
I get it.
Great
I so
to
get it.
see.
Yeah.
It's so great to see it. Thanks. Thanks for sharing.
Oh no, my pleasure. Are you kidding? Thank you for being such a wonderful, supportive group. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing more and more.
You can blame Marie for that.
Yeah, good. Love to blame.
No worries. It's all good.
Good blame.
We are so thrilled to have you. We're excited for the next show and tell as well. And what a great night. This video will be ready soon. And thank you again. Lovely.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jade.
Thank you.
You were magnificent.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.